And welcome, everybody. I'm really delighted to be here today. I think we've got a great lineup planned, and I'm going to just jump right into the content because I have a lot to cover, and I just want to make sure I get through everything so you can hopefully use this information to help you make better decisions in your organizations. So without any more delay, I'm just going to start very quickly by telling you just a little bit about Nemertes Research. We are a research and strategic advisory company. We focus on analyzing the business value of emerging technologies. So basically, we're really going to be, looking at things like ROI, TCO. We look at success metrics, and really try and show companies how the technologies that they deploy in their organization are going to deliver measurable business impact or measurable, sort of business results for them. So we really focus on that in our research, and you'll see some of that here today in what I'm about to present. You can see a little bit more about us, the coverage areas that we cover, the technology areas that we cover there on the slide, and a little bit about our research methodology as well. We do both interviews and surveys of companies, and that's what you're going to see here today as I go through all this. We were founded in 2002 and have been a long-time partner of the WSTA. So as far as the research study itself, I just want to give you a little bit of detail on the study so that you know where we're coming from here. This was a study called Intelligent Customer Engagement, where I'm going to provide most of the recommendations from. We had about 518 companies participating in that research from 10 countries, 24 verticals, and the average employee count was about 15,000 employees, and average annual revenue was just under $1 billion. Whoops, sorry about that. Okay, so you're going to hear me talking a little bit about a success group as I go through this presentation. And this is basically companies that have measured success of using some advanced CX technologies like AI and analytics in their whole CX, initiatives or digital customer experience initiatives. So basically the top half of each size band was placed into a success group, and you can see in that success group, those who are in that group had a revenue increase of more than 69%, a customer ratings improvement of more than 43%, and operational cost decrease of more than 10%. So they were doing pretty well. When they implemented these technologies as they measured before and after, they were sort of the cream of the crop. And there were all industries represented here, but the top industries that we saw were manufacturing, high-tech, retail, and in fact, financial services as well. So you can see a little bit about the size breakdown there on the pie chart as well. So that just gives you an idea. When I talk about the success group, you're going to know who the success group is. Okay, so I want to start by just sort of posing the question, why do you want to prioritize CX? Why do you care about CX? And always remember, as you're thinking about customer experience, who is the king, right? Who is the king of everything that you're doing? You think of a customer. If I'm your customer, I can basically increase or decrease your revenue, your costs, your customer wins, your customer retention, your stock price with just one viral hashtag, one well-read review or blog, or just one really clever tweet. And that alone, I think, has changed what so many organizations are doing or not doing when it comes to customer experience. So if you have an executive team or hopefully a chief customer officer, which I'll get into in a minute, on CX, you'll be able to deliver measurable business improvements through doing that. And I'm going to show how that happens. So first, I want to start with the organizational strategy. I just mentioned the chief customer officer. If you don't have one, I think this is a very, very important step to take. You need to hire and empower a chief customer officer. So right now, we see about 37% of companies with chief customer officers. And with our success group, it's definitely a success correlation, because in that group of companies, it's doing very well, as I mentioned. There's about 59% of them with a chief customer officer versus only about 33% of all others, so those not in the success group. We did provide a definition as we were doing this research, as we interviewed or surveyed companies. It's basically, and not everyone uses, by the way, the term chief customer officer. It could be, customer experience officer, VP of customer experience. It just has to be an executive level person with ultimate responsibility for all customer facing activities and strategy. And their goal basically is to maximize that customer acquisition and retention and satisfaction. So in doing so, they're often working very closely, with the CMO or the head of sales. In fact, in some companies, we're even seeing the CMO report into the chief customer officer, just kind of as a signal that customer, data, customer analytics is going to rule what we're doing here. And you may ask, okay, well, why? Why do we need yet another executive level person? Well, when you have a chief customer officer, you're going to see measurable success. So this is just looking at companies before, the ones with a CEO or without a CEO over a 6-month time frame. How did their revenue change? How did their customer ratings change? And how did their operational costs change? And you can see that in all cases, whatever metric you're looking at, when you have a chief customer officer, the success metrics are better. You have a person now who is devoted and whose sole focus is on making sure customers are happy. That person typically has a staff who's looking at all the different analytics, all the different customer survey analytics coming back, and being able to make decisions based on that data. And as a result, when you start doing that, you're going to see these business metrics get better. So this is, real data from companies who have actually hired CCOs. Now, the other thing you want to do in your organizational strategy is revamp your agent, sort of the whole agent plan. When we looked at agent turnover rates 2 years ago, they were at 38%. Now, no organization can survive with a 38% turnover rate, in any of their organizations. And we even see companies, the highest turnover rate I saw in all my interviews was actually 80%. And you can imagine that all those people are doing it's just a revolving door. They're constantly interviewing and spending all this time and money trying to replace people who have left. So we're starting to see that companies are really revamping their plans to reduce turnover. So they're doing things like changing the compensation. We're seeing that companies are increasing agent compensation by in the 20 to 30%. So it's not just a cost of living increase. This is, significant increases to keep people there and to keep them happy with their jobs and knowing it's not sort of a dead end position. And that kind of goes hand in hand with the last item on here, which is the career path. We talked to a lot of companies who thought, this is kind of a dead end job. I'm not really getting what I need here. And so they put together career paths for them. So if you spent 2 or 3 years in the contact center and you want to move into marketing or product development or HR or even become a supervisor in the contact center, we have a path for that. And that kept people there longer. Why do you want to have your people who know your customers, your products, what you're doing right or wrong? Why do you want those to be the people who are kind of, we'll come in and out for 2 years? You want to keep them. You want to keep them growing with your organization. So that's really important. And the other way we see companies do that, reducing that turnover rate, is through analytics, coaching, gamification. Those all kind of go hand in hand. So how am I doing? What are the analytics that show how well I'm doing as an agent? And as a supervisor, how can I help coach my agents to be able to do more and just do a better job? And then even with gamification, so when you're in a physical contact center, having digital billboards showing how well each agent is doing, have a little competition there virtually, just having a virtual, billboard there showing how well people are doing, and, doing badging, doing gift cards, things like that. It's really kind of, building that camaraderie in the contact center as well. So when we see companies doing that better agent experience, really focusing on making the agent experience better, not just customer experience, but also agent experience, you're going to end up having happier customers, right? So when you think about it, happy agents are going to stay with the company longer. And how can you do that? Well, all the things I just mentioned. And when we looked at our data, the companies that keep agent turnover rates to less than 15% see a 26% improvement in customer ratings. So agent experience is tied very heavily to that customer experience. Right now, by the way, the average turnover rate is about 21%. So you've got to do better than average to see this increase. So, of course, in recent months, work from home has become a very big issue, as we all know, and that has affected how we're serving our customers. So, obviously, there are more agents, customer service agents working from home, either full-time or part-time, and we're going to start seeing hoteling become much more common. So, having half the staff go in half the week or part of the week and the other half go in the rest of the week and kind of shifting that around. So that's, hoteling. We're going to be sharing workspaces. And, when contact centers or, when they start largely opening, which a lot of them are not right now, about 75% are still working from home. We'll see a lot of split shifts emerging as well. So that's going to help support that work-life balance, being able to, hey, I'm going to work in the mornings, get my kids off to school, maybe work for a few hours in the afternoon, get my kids home from school, cook dinner, do stuff like that, and then work late at night. Those kind of split shifts. I'm talking to a lot of companies who are doing that for, parents of children or people who have to take care of their own parents, elderly, all that kind of stuff. And that's increasing loyalty as well. And then even that IT support that you have to give is really increasing for home offices now, more so than it ever has before. We are seeing and going to see less commercial office space required. So it may not be a one-to-one exchange because of social distancing. So when you think about cubes, they're not 6 feet apart now. So they may have to redesign those contact centers. They may be adding plexiglass partitions and more sanitization. More health checks are going to be required. So all that's going to cost more money. So it's not going to be a one-for-one exchange. The average cost of a contact center space is about $8,300 per year per person. That's average, could be more or less depending upon where in the country you're talking about. So it's not going to be one-to-one, but it is going to be some significant savings. And I am talking to companies now who are trying to, determine where they're going to, devote or where they're going to sort of direct that savings. A lot of them are saying into new technologies to help augment the agents and just improve that customer experience overall. Because so many people are working remotely, of course, the managers are requiring a lot more training for their remote employees. And this is where we need HR weighing in to do some more training for the managers to manage. I think video is the most significant technology. I'm sure most of you would agree with that, because that's going to help manage the one-to-one relationships. It's also going to help supervisors to observe, customer interactions and make sure that they're going well. Team collaboration, that's also a key tool, just having your workspaces or channels for different key customers or activities that you're doing with your teams. And the other big technologies that we're seeing helping here are new CX analytics type apps. And those are helping to improve customer ratings, just making sure you know what customers think. Also, agent analytics and how are they doing, workforce optimization, things like that. You've got AI-enabled bots, routing, self-service, all those AI-enabled capabilities are really complementing what agents are doing, and they're making them more effective, helping them to make a lot better recommendations to their customers as well. So when we look at the workspace itself and sort of the difference in the requirements now versus what we're going to see at home, well, at home you need sort of this comfortable, quiet, place to work. In many cases, you need dual monitors or at least a very large monitor that you can split screen. A door that closes, especially when you're working in sensitive areas like financial services or healthcare, government. You don't want your kids' friends or other friends or even maybe family members who might be working in a competitive, location or a competitive company being able to hear what you're doing. You need that privacy. Ergonomics are very important. So we're seeing companies focusing on either buying and allowing, buying their employees ergonomic, desk, walking desk, standing desk, chairs, that type of thing, or at least giving instructions to their employees as to how they want to make that happen. High quality headsets, Wi-Fi and internet access, those are obviously very important things now at home. As we return to the contact center, temperature checks on a daily basis, some companies even twice daily, are going to be happening. You're going to see dual monitors there, but they're going to be more sanitization, because if I'm now doing hoteling and I'm sharing a workspace with somebody else, I need to make sure everything on that workspace is clean. Cubicles need to be about 6 feet apart with the plexiglass, as I mentioned. there's going to be one of the big needs for higher quality headsets, by the way, is that, people are going to be bringing them from home into the office if you're going to be going back and forth. Companies want their employees, including their contact center agents, to stay working from home at least part-time, to improve their quality of life is the biggest reason. But the second reason is to be prepared for the next disaster, whatever that might be, whether it's weather, whether it's health, whatever it is. This is going to help them become more prepared. And then also we're going to see some hand sanitizer stations. So it's just going to look different when we get back to the office overall. Now, when it comes to architecture, one of the things that we have found here is that as companies move to the cloud, their ratings are higher. So first of all, just looking at the cloud, this line, this growth chart here shows the percentage of companies that are moving into the cloud. So it's specifically for the contact center. So you can see that this year the projection is about 55% of companies. Now that's not percentage of agents, which is lower because a lot of the larger contact centers remain on premises. But what happens when you go into the cloud is that as we see companies rating their providers, you can see the blue lines are those who are using the cloud, a cloud provider. The gold lines are those who are not using a cloud provider. So the overall scores, as they're rating everything from technology features to reliability to analytics capabilities, all those different areas, almost 12% higher when these research participants are using cloud versus on-prem or hybrid. So they're just happier with cloud providers, more agile, things like that. So when we look at what companies are doing for their for their agents, these are some of the areas that we see them really focusing on, making sure they have a unified desktop so they're not toggling between applications. They have contextual data through CRM integration. An AI virtual assistant is giving them screen pops with that contextual data. Oh, don't recommend, using things like, for example, natural language processing, just being able to determine I'm about to make an investment recommendation, but my virtual assistant has noticed that there's some activity on Wall Street right now that is going to go against what the AI virtual assist thinks I'm going to be recommending. And I'll get a screen pop telling me not to do that. And the reason why, because I'm talking to the customer now, I can't be focusing on everything that's happening in the market, but my virtual assistant can be. And that helps me to serve the customer better. Agent analytics, again, I talked about that, just being able to look at how am I doing? What were my ratings from customers this morning? Did I talk too much? Did I not talk loudly enough? All sorts of analytics. You can imagine how many different data points companies are looking at. Omnichannel, so adding new ways for companies to communicate, but not just that, integrating those ways to communicate and make sure that customers don't have to repeat themselves if they come in on a different channel. Integration, not only with the channels, but also with CRM and unified communication and analytics. We also see companies looking at workforce optimization, making sure they're doing things like quality control. There's all sorts of components within workforce optimization that, we see companies looking at and using, even just management and scheduling. And then intelligent routing. So being able to use AI to route calls to where they need to go based on anything happening at that moment in time. So if NLP or sentiment analysis picks up that I'm upset as a customer, it might route me somewhere. If it picks up who I am and knows that I rated somebody 5 stars 2 weeks ago, I'll get placed to that, that agent, if that agent's available. So as a result, you're going to see all sorts of good things when you do a good agent desktop like this, agent, sort of applications and other areas. Better ratings, higher first call response, reduction in callbacks, lower turnover rates, more sales, and reduced operational costs. So a lot of good things happen there. We also see that successful companies are very focused on self-service. So you can see here that by 2025, all sizes of companies are saying that they will see about a 45% of their transactions being handled by self-service. If I look at just the success group, that's all the way up to 53 or almost 54%. You can see in the chart in the bottom left that when you use self-service in our research here, the success group versus all others using self-service are seeing revenue increases, customer rating increases, and operational cost decreases at much higher rates than those not in the success group. So this is definitely a success correlation. To get people in using self-service, maybe having an AI bot help them through that self-service and guide through it. And then if they need to escalate up to a live agent, they can. So the keys here is it does, get customers what they need right away. They don't have to wait on hold. It very well may improve the user experience, because AI is sort of helping to guide them. It's going to generate some revenue and also reduced operational costs, as you can see here. Now, one of the things I will say with AI is that you don't want to boil the ocean. You want to prioritize your AI projects. Now, we've seen tremendous growth in AI. Just from 2018 to 19, it went up 36%, and that's percentage of companies that are using or planning to use AI. Now, you can see that the ratings also increased when companies were using AI, and there's all sorts of different AI technologies you can utilize. You can see some of the top ones: intelligent routing, sentiment analytics, self-service, virtual assistants, personalization. You can see that the orange lines are those who are in our success group. The blue lines are those who are just all companies. So the successful companies obviously are doing a lot more by definition. But this just kind of gives you an idea. We talk about AI just sort of as this overall catch-all. But these are all the different things companies are doing when it comes to artificial intelligence now. And there's quite a few of them. And when you use AI, again, you can see that all sorts of great things happen. This breaks down companies by small, mid-size, and large by number of employees. And you can see the success group in orange. And in all cases, they are increasing their revenue because of AI. Among all company sizes, it's about a 57% increase in sales when they use AI. And we also have data that I don't have here, but it shows decreases in costs and also improvements in AI. So there's hard data behind this. When you use AI, you're going to see good things happen. So that's something you should be thinking about if you're not already. And kind of what goes hand in hand with AI is analytics. So you want to use analytics to improve your customer experience and more, but you want to look at it as a life cycle function. So you don't want to just gather data and analyze it and leave it there. You want to make recommendations. You want to take action from those recommendations, measure your success, and revise based on those measurements. So it's kind of a continual cycle. It's something that you're never completely done with. And as you can see, when you use analytics, whether it's sentiment analytics, I always do this, sentiment analysis, agent analytics, or predictive analytics, any of those are sort of the core analytics programs or applications that we see companies using across the board. From start to finish of those initiatives, revenue went up, customer ratings went up, and operational costs went down. And all of them very measurably, pretty substantially. So analytics is just basically going to give you the data to tell you whether what you're doing is working or not, and then how to make the changes to make it even better and to continuously improve. Now, integrations are also very important. So we certainly see that companies are integrating contact center with unified communications, 42% doing now. And it is a success correlation with 56% of companies actually in the success group doing this. So we have a lot of different uses for, integrating the two. And these just kind of cover a few. So you can put team collaboration workspaces for each of your customers. You can, in both the UC and the contact center space, or if you're using that UC technology and bringing it into the contact center, you can look at your customers. They can access present status of your client team, perhaps, and access to their collaboration applications. So I can see that my account team, 3 people are available, and I can jump on a web conference or a video conference with this person. So that's always really important. When you take a lot of the contact center technologies and put those into UC, you're going to see the customer analytics activities, the marketing and sales teams can look at what the customers are saying. They can coordinate outreach. So CEM is customer engagement management. They can coordinate that with sales and marketing teams. They can do product development. I love this one because product development can actually track customer trouble tickets that are in the contact center and use that to decide what they're going to prioritize next. And then, of course, you can do mobile extensions to get a hold of people whenever you need them. And as you can see here, again, we just have a lot of success metrics to show that UC and contact center integration is successful. Customer ratings increased by about 48%. Your monthly cost per contact center agent decreases by 22% if you integrate that UC and contact center and get bundled discounts. And the ratings of the technology providers, just like we saw with cloud, they increase here. When you use a single UC and contact center provider, they increase by 16.8%. So a lot of goodness comes when you're able to use the same provider for multiple functions. Now, the other thing that, of course, everyone cares about is spending. So what's going on with spending? You can see that the Chief Customer Officer, in 75% of the cases almost, has budget. On average, it's about $850,000. And on average, they have about 523 staff members. Now, obviously, this is going to vary based on the size of the company. If you're, below 50 employees, you're going to have 4 people on that staff. But the key point is that a Chief Customer Officer needs to be empowered. And in order to be empowered, they need budget and they need staff. So we're seeing that happening definitely here. Now, the other thing I want to mention about successful companies and spending is you don't always have to spend more to do good things. So when we look at the success group for AI, the successful companies are actually spending less money on artificial intelligence than those who are not in the success group. You can see the top table there up on top is all sizes of companies spending about $468,000 on AI technologies, and that varies based on size. But at the success group only spending $237,000. So, really what that's saying is that the success group is taking a lot smaller, more deliberate projects. They don't try to boil the ocean. The non-success group is trying to do way too much, and they're not showing success as rapidly. So you can see that with the success group, about 82% of the success group plans to increase their spending next year. So definitely a success correlation there. So I'm going to wrap up with 10 recommendations. I want you to just suggest that you watch your customer comments and react quickly to those to make sure you have those survey tools built in, that you're hiring and empowering a chief customer officer with the budget and the staff like I just showed you, that you're revamping that agent package. Make sure you're looking at their comp plan, their promotional capabilities, what's their career path, how are you rewarding them, that you're establishing a strategic work from home plan. You're looking at what kind of technologies they have. Is their workplace comfortable? Am I managing them well? Is HR providing training? That you're creating a return to office strategy as well. Do I have the sanitization stations? Do I have everything I need, to return to office? Is everything spaced out right? That you're empowering your supervisors and agents with AI and analytics. You need these technologies to complement what they're doing and also to give them the information that they need to continuously improve. That you're boosting your customer satisfaction with self-service. Make sure you have an AI virtual assistant to help. But if at any time they need to talk to someone live, they can do that. And then reevaluate your architecture. Obviously, cloud, as I mentioned, correlates with success. It's not always going to be the right solution for everyone, but it is an important one and does correlate with success. So at least evaluate that if you haven't already. Integrate your contact center with UC so you can combine your non-contact center and agent employees as well as the contact center agents, and then measure success and adopt that continuous life cycle so that you're making sure that you're as successful as you possibly can be. All right. And with that, I know it was a lot of material, but you certainly can access the deck and look at it as well. And if you have any questions, this is where to contact me. I'd be happy to answer any questions and help you with any contact center or customer engagement project that you might have that can leverage that data.